which is like women are sitting here like, okay, I've got all these suitors here, and I'm going to choose which of the.
But
best.
they don't like any of those guys.
No,
so
they don't.
It doesn't really help women to be in that position anyway.
Right,
because
but it feels good.
Momentarily, it validates your existence. It validates your
right. Because check this out, you get alpha widowed. So you're a woman, you get
widowed. What is that? What does that even mean? You gotta like.
All right,
give
so
me
you're
context.
so you're like so you know, it's your woman, and you get with this dude, and he hits that G spot in your brain as well as the G spot between your legs. Like this guy's
that's
like
called alpha widow.
No. I'm saying like he's just doing it well, and you're like. And he's living his life in a certain way, and he moves a certain way, thinks a certain way, speaks a certain way, and you're like, that's the dude.
Yeah.
Like, I want his babies.
Sure.
Right? Either like consciously or unconsciously, like that's being decided. And he's like, I'm not really like that. I'm going to see you later.
Okay.
And moves along. He just keeps moving. And she's going to be like, you know, she's going to be crestfallen. Okay.
Okay.
Like, oh my God. Like, that was an example of one of the guys that I'm really looking for.
Yeah.
And he wanted to leave.
Okay.
So she gets alpha widowed. Now, all these, the ones who are in vast majority are these like very placating, very generous, very nice guys who don't have that. They don't have that ish.
Yeah.
So though it kind of feels good, it's kind of like eating junk food. Like when you're really hungry, you want that nourishment.
Okay.
You're like, I'll take a bag of chips. It'll do the job, right, of like curing a little bit of hunger, but it doesn't really satisfy you.
So are you saying the women that are creating the frame of welcoming suitors that they don't even like are often the women that had a quality guy that they were looking for leave?
No. I'm just saying there's no, because there's not enough like those kind of dudes around.
Well, they get around.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, I've seen the statistics where there's like, you know, communities where you see like where there's like, what am I trying to say here? Basically, a few number of men are sleeping with the majority of women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like the other guys are just kind of like, they're
trying
doing some other
scraps.
Yeah. Or they're just arguing amongst themselves about why it's happening.
Okay, I know the communities where that exists,
and it's just like, but see, that's the thing, right? Because that's falling into the frame as well. When you start worrying about too much of these statistics and like divorce rates, and you know, what kind of guys are getting this, and the dudes with the symmetrical face and the square jawline, and the guys who are over 6 feet tall, and all those like. Those markers of like discussion and argument, and they even start bickering about the facts between all of these things, and they start pulling up reports and like, this is what the census says, and right, that's again like still falling into that frame. Okay. Whereas that guy that I mentioned, who you know may or may not be the producer of Alpha Widows, he's not thinking about any of that. He's the buyer.
Yeah.
That's all he's thinking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like my mentor, he's like, it's kind of like you're walking down the street and there's two burger joints, and both burger joints are like, we have the best burgers in town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you go over here and you're like, well, you know, what are you doing? And you kind of assess their business and their food and their quality. You try that. And then you look at over there and you try that. And you have the power of the buyer, right?
Okay.
And that's a mentality. And it doesn't mean when you choose one or the other, or one over the other, it doesn't mean the other one's crap. It's just you like that one better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times that other burger joint will get into their feelings and be like, oh man,
yeah,
you know, I haven't succeeded in getting that buyer's money.
Yeah.
And they'll like kind of settle for other customers.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
But, when you say settle for other customers, like
simps. So
I don't know if they're necessarily settling for them, because at the end of the day, like a man who
no, they're settling. The majority of women who get married, they marry their second or third choice.
Damn, that is wild. You're telling me, hold on. So what gives you the impression that like a woman is often marrying like someone that wasn't their first choice?
All right, check it out.
That's a crazy concept to think of, because now I'm like looking at all marriages like, you might not have been the one, sir.
Right. No, I'm serious. Like, check it out. You say like you got like a group of 100 people. Okay. And you say like 100 women, and then you've got 100 men. Okay. Let's say 10% of those men are the dudes who the majority of those women are like checking out and like really wanting. Okay. And after talking with them, interacting with them, they're like, oh yeah, definitely. Those 10% guys, I want those dudes. Okay. But some of them will get married. So that 10% guys, some of them will get married. Some of them will just leave. Yeah. Some of them will go do something else. Yeah. Right. And so that like reduces that 10%. Right. So there's only going to be a few people who are really, really wanted to be like that guy, to be that husband. And then the other guys, they're, when time comes or whatever, the ladies in that room, they're going to be choosing the best of what's available.
What's left? By then
because there's just simply not enough of those guys.
I feel you, but like, that's also relative, right? Like, someone who is in the top 10% of men is relative, because, if you're discussing income, if you're discussing height, if you're talking about looks, if you're talking about actual like testosterone levels and masculinity as a whole, like, and behavior, like those fall along, an equation of different things. So like,
and that 10% of guys in that room, they're all going to vary between each other. But the fact remains is 10% of those guys are more desirable than the rest.
I mean, sure, like top 10%, top 20%. I'm talking about speaking. Like a woman might be looking for the best of the best, but at the same time, how does she know really what the best of the best is if she hasn't really experienced all of those guys? Because there are some women who might have experienced a certain level of guys, and that's enough for her, right? She might imagine, like through conversation, right? Especially women who are virgins, or women who like...
Wait, there's virgins?
Huh? What?
There's virgins?
I met them. I'm giving an extreme example to describe like women who have a different cultural experience, especially ones who come from certain countries that are a little bit more modest, or come from religious upbringing. They have a different perspective of what standard to give themselves. So them, digging through the crate for like the creme de la creme, it's all relative to them, right? So they might have an idea that they do have the best, because that might be the best that they've ever experienced, right? And the top 10%, as you call it, might not have gotten to them. Now, to your point, if that woman did experience, because I've heard stories from men, or even just women, right, where a guy and a woman will get together and they rock each other's world, and specifically the woman will fantasize about this guy and could never be satisfied about anything else. Yeah. Or anyone else. Yep. Right? So
it's like that Sex Life show.
What's Sex Life show?
On Netflix. You haven't seen Sex Life?
No, I saw a tidbit on it, but I didn't see the show.
Oh, you gotta check it out. I mean, it's like it's exaggerated, but basically this party girl in New York City,
sounds about right,
does her thing, right, living it up, in her 20s, and she meets this guy who's a music producer from Australia.
Of course,
he's completely just all sex. Like his whole appeal is just like dripping with sex. And not to mention, he's like hung like a horse.
Of course he is. Why not? So, why wouldn't it be?
Right.
Freaking Australian.
Right. And so, I don't know. But so he's just like this guy, and she's like, holy shit. It's like the sort of thing, like adventurous. They're going like breaking into people's property, like having sex in their fountains and shit.
Yeah.
Like it's just wild.
Yeah.
But he's also volatile. Like he's not emotionally mature. He like flips out, just
as per usual,
makes her feel like crap sometimes, just breaks her down. And eventually he like kicks her out, and she's like, I can't deal with this. And then she meets this great guy,
Plan B.
Well, no, but I mean, at the time it was like, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's tall, but not as tall. He's good looking, but not quite as good looking, whereas like the first dude, he's a 10. The other guy, he's like an 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But he's like well put together. He's predictable. He's got a fantastic job in finance.
Yeah.
He owns a home by himself in Connecticut, as well as an apartment in New York.
Okay.
Like he's got like plans to like build something outside
yeah.
of the city. And they grow a relationship, and sorry, spoilers. So they're loving it, but they have the kids, do the whole thing, and now she starts thinking. It's like creeps in. She starts fantasizing because what she's getting, which was, she wants that explosive sex. All right,
Yeah.
dudes, women want explosive sex. They don't want boring shit.
Of course.
Right. And like just like blows their mind, like splits their soul in half.
Yeah, but
okay.
explosive sex is
energetically
understood,
emotionally
understood. Right. That's also relative.
I don't mean like physically splitting them in.
Sometimes no one should be in pieces.
Right. Sometimes that's necessary, but anyways, she's not getting that, and she's fantasizing about when she did.
Yeah, of course.
Right. She's been alpha widowed. She's like, oh dang, she's just writing about all of her adventures and trysts with this guy. Yeah. The husband finds that shit and it just shatters like so much.